Hi everyone, and welcome to Worth the Calories, a Great British Bake Off podcast. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Catherine.
This week we're talking custard.
I love custard.
Custard, whether it's from the ghetto or not. We'll revisit that later. We started with floating islands.
This is something I've always been intrigued by. I don't think I've ever eaten a floating island.
Okay.
Have you ever had a floating island?
I feel like I've had it once. Back when restaurants used to do desserts that were interesting.
Yes.
Remember way back when?
Well, before it all became sticky toffee pudding and a chocolate brownie.
And a chocolate brownie and some sort of creme brulee.
None of which are bad things. It's like every restaurant, right?
It's just, and across the world, as we're finding,
Yeah.
it has homogenized the standard dessert options you get in restaurants. Very, very disappointing. Anyway, floating islands. I think I've had it once, but a long time ago.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
As we've said on previous weeks, because it's got a number of different techniques and things going on with it, this is quite a good challenge.
Yes, I must admit, I was thinking, I'd be quite interested in trying this. Except, do I really want to try and poach a meringue?
Well, but that's almost the point of some of this. Yes, I'd be interested in trying it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love custard. Love custard.
You do. You were very excited for this week.
I was, and I am. I think it was an interesting one to try and put the signature flavours spin on, because in my mind it's quite a simple, straightforward dish. Mm-hmm. So almost there's a danger of gilding the lily by putting too many flavours into it. But of the ones all the bakers did, were there any that you particularly thought were successful, that you fancied?
I mean, it's really obvious to say Shabira, because she won the week, so
Absolutely.
Fine. But Shabira and Janusz, because they both looked at it and did, what if we did a drink with a meringue thing in the middle of it?
Yes.
So he went for coffee flavours, she went for cocktail flavours. I can already see doing that and being like, let's make it an espresso martini, effectively. Custardy, meringue, coffee, bit of liqueur.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think Janusz is the one that appealed to me the most as well.
Yeah, I mean, it looked the part.
Yes.
Except it didn't look like a floating island.
No, it looked like a latte.
Yeah.
So I suppose that depends on what your judging criteria is.
Yeah, I think I don't think it takes anything away from it, but at the same time, you'd be surprised if you were brought that expecting a floating island, I think.
Agree.
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 But yeah, they both did incredibly well. So, I liked that take on it. And I liked watching, actually, because they showed a few different people getting the meringue ready for poaching. Again, this is one of the great things of the show. You see different people exercising the skill and you go, oh, I sort of see how it's done.
Yes.
It's a bit like when you watch a YouTube video over and over and you go, right, I think I've got it now.
Yes.
Yeah, had that thing going on, which I liked.
I thought, I'm going to forget his name again. Kevin?
Kevin.
Did I get his name right?
This is the only week you have to remember it now, so you're okay.
Poor Kevin. I thought Kevin was a bit brave trying to put Prosecco in his meringue.
And Rose.
Well, as soon as anyone mentions anything being flavoured with Rose, my heart sinks, because it never quite works out. It's like, I don't know, have they not watched this show long enough to go,
Oh, it's a soapy flavour.
Rose. Doing Rose, are they? That's not going to work out. Or do you think people just think, my touch is so subtle. I'm going to be the one that does Rose really well.
My Rose will be the best.
Yeah, exactly. And like when he said he was going to put Prosecco in the meringue, I thought, what, meringue? That notoriously stable of concoctions. Why not, Kevin? What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And exactly what went wrong did go wrong. I mean, apparently it tasted nicely. You can't see that. It looked a mess.
Yeah.
Bless
yes,
him.
it did not come out looking that well. But good on him for actually getting the flavours right,
To be fair.
But this does also speak something to whether he was concentrating on flavours too much or whether the way you introduce those flavours let you down elsewhere.
Yes.
And Sandro tried something.
Oh, but it just didn't quite work out, did it?
Yeah, this is the sort of thing where you can now see him going, right, I need to elevate. If I want to keep in this show, I need to keep elevating. So he's tried something. It's not come off, but actually that's a learning experience to go, And next time I pull it back and I make sure it looks the part. So I'm, still expecting good things from him over the next few weeks.
Yes. But the too much booze in your food, it surely has to be a square on Bake Off bingo.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it's Rose and over boozing.
Yeah. There were a lot of them putting alcohol in this week. There is that thing of, actually, you could get a bit tipsy going around trying all this.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Especially when, I don't think they did it this week, but sometimes the contestants
serve up
a glass of whiskey on the side. But,
terrific.
Yes, overall. So having watched The Signature, do you still feel an urge to eat an il flottante?
I think so. I'd actually be more inclined to try one again now. And I still think it's something I would be interested to try. And we're not going to be baking this week. We just don't have the time this week. So we're going to get the podcast done, but we're not talking on our attempts at the baking. But I could have seen us doing this with you doing the custard, me doing the meringue. That's
exactly what I was going to suggest.
Yeah,
So maybe we should do this one day. And you can faff
Divide
around poaching meringue, and I'll make a lovely, lovely smooth custard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's a deal.
Maybe we will try that sometime.
Nice.
Yes. Probably not, but maybe.
In a world of infinite possibilities.
So our technical was pistachio and praline ice cream.
Yum.
Which looked really good. I am a bit disappointed I'm not going to try this, but actually over and above not having time this week, we don't have the ice cream maker of the style they use, and we don't have a waffle cone maker.
Yes, I wouldn't want to be spending lots of equipment money.
No.
Or if I'm honest, have another gadget to try and find cupboard space for in our kitchen, especially as, how often would we ever really make waffle cones?
Exactly. It's something I would like to do once.
Yes.
But I don't want to do it again and again.
Yes.
So maybe, I probably should have researched, but maybe if you could get a waffle maker that had different plates to allow you to make waffle cones, that would have been the way to go. But again, it's, like you say, it's storing and it's having a bit of equipment you don't necessarily always use.
I would be interested in trying the ice, and even just seeing how it comes out in our ice cream maker. So what again?
Because when you've done good ice creams in the past, you said you've basically made a custard and then frozen it.
Yes, exactly. The custard, it's a very heavy on the cream in the custard, but yes, it's a custard and then frozen in the ice cream maker.
No, in the churner.
In the churner.
Yeah. And that, it seemed to surprise a number of them.
Right.
That was one of the techniques and one of the ways to make tasty ice cream, which was interesting. We have to give credit to the show for the shot and chaser of, it's great because I'm at the back bench now, so I get to watch everyone else as they do it, and it starts with, actually, we're going to stagger it, and you go first, mate.
Love it. I wonder if the producer angled for that comment.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
I was really interested to see the impact of those that put something warm in the freezer earlier on in the process, because it was really quite a significant impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's good that they call it out. I think it was Kevin who said, "This is why you don't do it." Maybe someone definitely said, "This is why you don't do it." And so then you could watch it and go, and now we can understand what's happened. Whereas you would have had to have had some sort of voiceover, maybe, to explain it, if not.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is an interesting science experiment happening on my TV.
Yeah. And also interesting that Sandro, who went first, did the best on it.
Yeah.
He absolutely smashed this one.
Absolutely.
I wonder how much of that was... He was obviously the first one there, so he got a bit of extra time focusing on it and going through it without any distractions and less pressure of people around. But also that bit at the end where we saw him making it in the freezer because he didn't have to worry about keeping it open.
Yeah, so, absolutely. It clearly was thinking about the meltiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but also he did a much better job of drizzling his chocolate.
Yeah.
Like I was fascinated because seeing him do light, delicate dribbles.
Yep.
I was like, oh yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The ones that put a great big chocolate
Just splodge
splodge
it on
on top.
top.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would eat that.
But this is Bake Off.
But it's not elevated decoration, is
No,
it?
absolutely. This isn't the seaside. This
Yes.
is, yeah.
It's not my house. More chocolate than ice cream.
And was he the one who put chocolate in the middle as well?
Yes.
Very clever.
Perhaps someone who's done this before.
Maybe,
I don't know.
but
Maybe not. But yeah, he did well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I enjoyed watching it, although they were very surprised when they talked about the staggered start and everyone has to leave, as though this is new to Bake Off, the first time in Bake Off history.
Yeah.
You know?
Although I was a little surprised, because I wouldn't have necessarily thought it was a thing for an ice cream challenge, but actually, given how precarious the melting point is for the ice creams, it's like, okay, yes, it's not like they've left these ice creams freezing overnight to have a very set texture.
Absolutely, because that's the thing. It's the limited time. It's served before it's frozen, realistically, because even his were running.
Yeah.
But he'd managed to just get it set properly.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to walk along a sunny seashore.
No,
with
absolutely.
That. Yes.
Somewhere in Fushal and so we then had a couple of people who just couldn't get it set and cooled down and served it up basically as a soup.
I bet it was a tasty soup.
I bet it was a very tasty soup, but not ice cream. And then the mixed success of Maxie and Kevin and Abdul.
Yeah. Was it Abdul that had burnt his waffle?
Yes, he overcooked them there, which, again, that's why I'm interested, because clearly you have time for it to set once you've cooked it. That's why you then roll it around the waffle cone. Again, we don't have waffle cones. We'd have to get something to roll it around. And
it's not going to happen.
No. Good to see all the different ways it could go wrong, I think. I think that's why I'm enjoying this one so much.
It was an interesting challenge. It was a good challenge. I think I've seen people say it wasn't baking, but I can live with that.
I know podcast is an audio medium, so you can't hear my eye rolling, because they've never done just baking on this show, have they?
Absolutely.
So and what we would put in the category of baking isn't always baking.
Agree.
So,
Agree. Yeah.
I will go back to donuts.
Please do.
So I'm not going to get to give this a go. I would have liked to, like I say.
Yes.
I quite enjoyed, how we always get annoyed with the sort of paraphernalia of the challenge of, and now do your own butter, do your own jam, do your own thing while it's cooking, while it's baking, that keeps you occupied somewhat. I liked that this had the thing of now get the chocolate ready for drizzling, so it sets on top, and do the crushed nuts that you roll it in, and it had an appropriate level of additional things that didn't stand out.
I agree, because they had 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it was a long challenge.
What were they
going to
do? Run a 5K in the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good challenge.
Final one was custard gatto. Gatto, not ghetto. So custard and cake with custard as the primary element.
Yes. And so what you're going to do for my birthday is make me one of each, right?
If you would like. Well, were there any that you really liked?
I think Shabira's looked beautiful.
Yeah. And pina coladas are, again, a very clever way to go it, because those are flavours that work and that can be incorporated. Yeah. So
that was probably the one that I wanted to eat the most.
Right.
Because it had the most custard in it. The ones where the custard was like a little bit of like for me, the custard is what I want. I'm not that interested in the cake. So maybe just make me a big bowl of custard.
Make you a big bowl of
boozy pina colada custard.
Quasi-set custard.
Yeah. Perfect.
Maxie didn't meet the brief. And
yes, hers looked really tasty, but as you say, didn't quite.
Very nice cake with a bit of custard in it.
Yes.
But she was never in trouble with it, I think.
No.
I think she'd done fine on the other challenges, although clearly not on the soup one. But again, it's the thing of that will show her like, oh yes, I need to make sure I actually do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Keep going back to the exam question. Don't let your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't let your thoughts move 2 or 3 steps away from what the actual brief was, as you say. Yeah.
Don't write what you think is being asked. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Abdul did a milfoy.
I thought that was quite a clever, way forward, and actually that looked pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I like a loaf milfoy. I can't pronounce it, but I like it.
Yeah, I liked the moment of talking about using Paul's recipe.
Yes.
And I wonder if Abdul is someone who has tried some of the... Because we did this 4 years ago now, I think. It was a technical challenge once upon a time.
Yes.
So I wonder if he did it and realised, this could be a thing when he got the list through for this time.
Didn't I do... wasn't there like a coffee-flavoured custard slice that I did one year?
Possibly.
With the same sort of rough puff pastry layering. Yes, which is not that different from a milfoy. Custard slice.
The thing that particularly impresses me when I see this, and this is where clearly I need to work on my skills more, is when you see them doing the book fold and then rolling it out, and it is perfectly rectangular and silky smooth.
How do they do that?
It is clearly, I think, just practice.
Yeah.
And that thing of once you get it into that shape and you know what you're doing, you can keep it in that shape. But mine always ends up as a sort of rectangular oval.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a class, just like an hour or two somewhere, where they teach you how to roll things into specific shapes. Because I can't roll a pizza dough into a circle. No. And I can't roll pastry dough into a neat rectangle either. Just not my skill set.
Is this why pizzas come so often now as long and stretched more than round? Because they're not for spinning, it's about rolling it out.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah.
They just come in weird shapes when I do them.
So Kevin left this week.
He did.
Had a feeling of he'd reached the limits of what he was going to be able to do.
Well, he was kind of teetering at the bottom for the last week or two, wasn't he?
I think so.
Yes.
And I do appreciate that because you could see on his face when he was told, he had a smile. He was like, that's fine. I have done actually quite well. I've achieved something here and I can have my head held up high.
Absolutely.
And good on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Shabira won the week, I think.
Yay!
A little bit like last week. She was just exceptional in the first and last challenge, not so much the technical, but the technical doesn't matter, so fine.
Again, they're a good bunch.
Yeah.
I think it brings a real sense of proper competition.
Yep.
Like, not in a sharp elbow type way, but there are a few of them in there that could win it.
And there is a real vibe that they are getting on and comfortable with each other, but not in the really pally way we've seen before, which I think can be a distraction.
Yes, agreed.
And it's probably, actually, to be fair, over the last 2 or 3 years, the consequence of them basically living together for this will change it as well.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more air to breathe. They're not quite so intensely together anymore.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see what comes with this group because they're, a good group. At this stage, not entirely sure who's going to make it through to the final.
No, because I thought Janusz was going to walk it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still strong. I'd be amazed if he's not in the final. But I'm not quite so convinced he's 100% going to be the winner.
Yeah, and you can absolutely see he just has a bad week.
Yeah,
as we say at most series of this, and no one else does. And because I think it was the first challenge this week that basically no one did badly on it. There were a few that didn't come together or something didn't quite work, but there were no bad elements in that. And those are so often the best times because it's lots of interesting feedback and they're really critiquing it rather than just going, well, it looks a bit rubbish, doesn't it?
No, but there's properly constructive feedback that the people can use in future efforts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it.
So pastry next week?
Num num.
We will see if we get to try making some of that. Possibly not, because it's going to be some of the same issues we had this week. But see if we can fit in some time to do a pastry thing. A pie or something, perhaps.
I like a pie.
Excellent.
Yum.
See you next week.
Bye.